just for the record, Elon Musk is not a Nazi. He's South African, and there's a slight difference. Like, he did the salute. Half the internet said he's a Nazi. Half the internet said he's autistic. Can't he be both? There's a lot of overlap. Autistics and Nazis, they all love trains. What's the matter with our world at the moment? If you think about liberal democracy, we've oversold for the individual, and there's not enough of the demos. What is it that's bringing us together? Here's what I think about the coming civil war. The saunas in hotels in America or the UK, if you go to the sauna, it's like they have to cap it at like 65 degrees.
Yeah, like we're not.
Or someone might have a heart attack.
Yes.
Whereas if you go to the proper ones, it's like, oh, this is.
Yeah. If you will have a heart attack, then you will have a heart attack.
I sent I was in New York recently, and I sent my tailor's a very nice guy, Max, and they've got a store in.
Of course, you have a tailor.
He's the cutter, so he was over in New York, and I was with him. I said, "Oh, what are you doing?" He said, "I've got a big night out tonight." I said, "Why don't we meet at the sauna tomorrow?" Russian and Turkish baths.
Yeah, lovely. In East Village.
Yeah, I love it, right? So I went there, and I phoned him the next morning. I go, "Oh, my friend Lucy came out to have breakfast, whatever, so I'm not going to make it." He said, "Don't worry, I'm going to go and knock the hangover out. You say this place is great." I've been there like 5 days in a row. Had a great time. He goes there on a Sunday. So he just sees a little sign on the way saying men only. Not a big deal, but sees, okay, great, maybe it's a men only place, whatever. Right. Goes in there. It's a sort of 70s style gay sauna on a Sunday till 2 o'clock.
You need to know.
You
need to have known.
But you need to. But so he calls me and goes, "Was that? Were you pranking me?
Yeah.
What the?
He was like, I got a great blowjob,
all over me." And I went, "No, I literally." And then for me to try and convince him, I wasn't fucking around. I genuinely, I've been there every day this week. It's been fine.
I love it. So yes, they go outside in Finland, and you so you get in the sauna 100 degrees. You go outside, you walk through minus 22, and you get in. You can't put your head under in the lake because it can brain freeze you and you can die. So they tell you, and then you do doggy paddle, doggy paddle, doggy paddle, doggy paddle, doggy paddle. Come back in, out, in, out. And by the end of it, I mean, you know this if you're a cold plunge guy, you're in a psychedelic state.
Yeah, your
brain is like flying.
It's brilliant.
It's wild. It was like an intense drug.
I think it's like, it's that best thing in life as well, where you're enjoying where you are and you can't wait for the next thing. When you're in the cold, you're going,
I was hating where I was and resenting the next thing as well. But I know what you mean. I was hating the heat and also fearing the cold.
Right.
But I know what you mean.
Yeah.
It's like incredible extremities. I've heard you talk about comedy that way, about saying that you're basically a drug dealer because you're dealing in people's serotonin and dopamine.
Yeah.
And you're like, you're tweaking their mental states.
The great thing about that is you go, they've got the drugs on them. Like they can, customs, I never get stopped because the drugs are in you. Everyone's got the right amount of dopamine and serotonin. It's just being able to fire that off.
Yeah.
And the idea of going, I suppose it's the variable reward system of comedy where people sit down, they know I'm going to tell them jokes, but they don't quite know when the joke's going to hit. They don't quite know what the punchline's going to be. So it's kind of constantly being surprised. And then the serotonin, you're sort of delighted. And then it's everyone kind of coming together and enjoying that en masse. The live experience, I think, is very, I think that's maybe underplayed. I think there's an illusion with sort of creatives or performers. You're going, well, I'm doing the performance. You go, well, yeah, you're the one on stage. But everyone in there it's all performative. Laughter is quite a performative act. Like if you watch something on your phone, isolated, kind of on the bus, on headphones, or you're reading the thing, you're like, oh, that's funny. Yeah, I can see how that's funny. But you don't laugh in the same way. It's why I think in the UK, there's a real thing about Christmas television. And there's nothing special about TV about Christmas. It's just that Christmas TV is watched as a family, as a group. You're with other people. And so it's better. Right. Some things are just better shared.
And pantomime and vaudeville in the States and like...
Everything, the live experience is like, when you think about what people care about in life, it's music or sport or comedy or theatre, it's play. There's not enough play in our lives. We're desperate for it, so we go out, we sort of find it sort of artificially and go and kind of watch it because we want to play more. We want to be part of that thing. So I think that kind of, the live thing of like going after festivals, buying tickets to shows, going to see something, because not only are people kind of working remotely, they're living remotely. Because not only is the office, it's like you order your food on the app, and you kind of live your life on this. And even the Tinder thing, the kids are meeting online, which is, I mean, it's good in a way, but then there's no reason to go to a club and there's no reason to drink. There's a theory now that kids in this generation coming up will drink 80% less because you won't have to have an awkward conversation in a bar.
Right.
You just ask enough people, swipe left and right, and you had the thing. But then you're losing the experience of doing that, and the kind of fighting that dragon and going out and having that experience was the thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I liked that as much as the sex, the flirting, the chase, the hunt, the playfulness. Do you think it's a more, if I am watching something alone and I see a clip of yours and it comes up and it actually elicits a laugh out loud, laugh that I can't help, that to me is a higher bar and a truer laugh than the laugh that I do when I'm in a crowd and I understand that a joke has just been told and everyone else is laughing, and so I want to laugh along. But it sounds like you're saying that you don't regard one as being a lesser.
Well, no, I think if someone watches something online, they watch a clip and it really breaks through and they laugh and they, have that release, that's wonderful. That's great. I love that. That's kind of why you put them up. I think more often than not, it's like you had that experience in the room. I had a weird one the other day. Someone heckled just like 2 nights ago. A lady heckled in the audience going, "Why are you using canned laughter?" I went, "What?" And she went, "This canned laughter." And she thought somehow in the room she was in, with 1,000 other people laughing, that somehow this was canned laughter.
That you were piping in.
Like, what are you talking about, lady? It was just kind of insane. But it is a weird thing where people often believe that sitcoms, and some of them did, but very few use canned laughter. But they did often film in front of a live studio audience. And at home, you couldn't understand that people were laughing that hard at this show, because you weren't having the same experience that they had of, like, they've been there for 2 hours and the actors are in the room with them and they love the show and they're all there together, and it's a community thing. And I suppose it speaks in a broader sense of what's the matter with our world at the moment. If you think about liberal democracy, we've oversolved for the individual, and there's not enough of the demos. There's not enough group and tribal activity where we feel part of something.
Right.
So the poison is the dose. There's too much of it. We're on our own too much of the time.
Which may be what's causing the backlash and the rise of the far right in Europe, and the kind of tribalism, this kind of blood and soil vision of identity and democracy that your J.D. Vances and people like that talk about. I mean, they're talking much more about heritage.
The left and the right both have the same problem. They're both very dissatisfied with the present. And one is looking to the past, make America great again, or the halcyon days, a vision of the past, which is sort of like a best of all the bits. You never think of how things actually were. You want to return to that.
Yeah.
Somehow. You just pick the best bits. And then, so that's the right want to go back, and the left want to move forwards into a utopia in the future. I know, I am progressive. I believe things will get better. But but the present is kind of, it's pretty good. But I often say this, it's never been objectively better and subjectively worse, because we're aware of kind of all these problems in the world that we just have there's nothing we can do about them.
I mean, that characterization of left and right is an interesting one, but it probably applies more to 20 years ago than it does to the way that the left has been over the past decade, because the left, one of the problems with the left, I think, over the past decade is that it has dropped the mantle of being, we are about the future, and the future is inevitably a better place, and there's a light on the hill that we're marching towards, and the arc of justice is, long, but whatever the arc of history is long, but it bends towards justice, in Obama's famous phrase. And it's become more about resurrecting, playing in the same terrain as the tribalism of the old right, in a way. Like, if you think about the emphasis on identity, the emphasis on race, the emphasis on difference, the emphasis on kind of who I am fighting other people who are different from me. This is a much more tribal vision of things, and also much more pessimistic. Like, the left has become much more morose and kind of moribund and saying, like, everything sucks, and, all we can do is try to squabble over a finite pie. It's sort of lost that sparkle.
Yes, I suppose the idea of, what was ever thus. I think we always think, oh my God, we made such progress in the last 20 years, but this is it. This is as much as there ever is.
Right.
And you kind of go, well, I think it's the things will move forward. Things will inevitably. I think the left for me is, and I'll always be a kind of a creature of the left, but you kind of go, there's been a sort of gentrification of the left, certainly in the Western world, where you go, and by that I mean the working classes have been sort of left out of it. Although you've got a lot of kind of neo-Marxist thought and power dynamics and Foucault and the Frankfurt School and Lyotard, all of that stuff. But the old school Marxism, which was about inequality in terms of economic resource, is kind of gone. So the left have stopped talking to the working classes. So for me, the turning point is that kind of, it's the deplorables Hillary Clinton speech, where you sort of go, you got to listen to the working class people. That used to be a party about
the deplorables used to be your gang. Yeah, the working class. The hoi polloi.
But you got to listen to them. You got to listen to what they're saying, what they need, and what they need you to be. Because now it seems that, I mean, has the switch already taken place now in America, where the right wing parties are the parties of the working class, and the left wing parties are the party of the urban intelligentsia? That's a weird shift.
Totally. Just on the question of group dynamics and group entertainment and consumption of media, what did you make of the shift away from those studio shows? Because there seemed to the whole studio audience laughing at something got replaced by a more sophisticated kind of. It was suddenly very fashionable to do shows like White Lotus or some other quote-unquote comedy show. They're always nominated in the comedy categories at awards ceremonies, but
that's
actually
that's slightly baffling. Yeah,
they're not. So there's a
wry charm. Yeah, White Lotus being a comedy, you go, come on, that's a drama.
Yeah, exactly. Or like the past 10 years, there's heaps of things where you sort of, what was it, 4 Seasons with Tina Fey and Steve Carell. I love those guys. It's an easy watch. I watch it, but the most you ever get is a You don't get Jimmy Carr belly chuckles.
Yeah, but that thing of like going, from the sitcom became something that was a multi-camera thing to being single camera, and it became more artistic. But I mean, the demand for entertainment is so huge. You just go, you don't quite know where it lands in terms of going, is it, that Stephen Colbert being cancelled is a really interesting moment where you go, well, people are getting their news in a different way now, and they used to go to late night for that, and it seems like a real, I thought. I've got a real fondness for those late night American shows and those guys hosting them. So I feel a real sadness for that. But I suppose now people will set up their own YouTube channel. You wouldn't want that job now.
Exactly.
The pinnacle of entertainment was hosting The Tonight Show.
Yeah.
And now you go, well, I'll just do my own thing and I won't have a boss and I'll have sort of total freedom. And people will find me if they want to find me.
It's never going to be the same. I mean, and it hasn't been the same for a while. I think, Letterman was probably the last guy. In terms of a person who, the following day, there were tens of millions of people who would say, "Oh, did you see such and such on Dave last night?" And the majority of people in the office would have, like that kind of vibe. I don't think that's existed since Letterman, really. Then everything splintered and everything.
I wonder we'll be going back to that in a weird way now, because I did notice things like White Lotus. Globally, you can now say, "Hey, did you see the show?"
That's true.
And everyone's kind of watching this one. So the big streamers, or I don't know where it all kind of comes out at the end of this. I don't know what happens with the media landscape.
Yeah.
But it's certainly sort of this sort of thing of like, podcasts seem to be huge and ever growing.
Yes, but there are 7 billion of them. You know what I mean? It's like,
I don't think it matters. I think it's the most don't get past 10 episodes.
No, that's true.
The people that your shift from mainstream, the national broadcaster, to go, well, I'm going to do this thing on my own and I'm going to find my own audience and speak to. It's quite a wide variety of people that you speak to on the show.
Even Jimmy Carr.
Yeah. But I mean, the fact I'm having to follow Sam Harris is frankly maddening. I'm not going to say anything interesting as him.
We've been talking about consciousness and artificial intelligence.
And then I'm conscious for the interview. That's as much as I can dig you.
You showed up sober and you showed up awake. So we're killing it so far. So what about television in the UK? Because you've done a lot of these live studio, panel shows. You have the whole energy of the studio audience. I
think it's still a thing. It's still going. I mean, we had a big hit last year with a show on Amazon called Last One Laughing, and it was a legit hit. Like, lots of people watched it, and it's nice to see entertainment TV doing that well, because you sort of what you don't realize, I think, as a casual observer, is less of those shows are being made. And that I might complain about that and go, well, because I used to like host them. But it's also because that's where new talent was sort of brought through. You'd appear on those shows on a couple of episodes as a guest, whether it was a Buzzcocks or a QI, which both still going, but Mocked a Week or 8 out of 10 Cats. you'd appear as a guest a couple of times, and sometimes someone would come on and they'd absolutely smash it. And then they'd be on a second time, and then a third time, and then they're putting in a little tour. And they became kind of famous in a way that I think it's very difficult to achieve now.
Yeah.
So it's slightly more niche fame where you find your own audience online as opposed to, oh, everyone knows who you are.
Yeah, I mean, I missed that. There was something, I can't remember who I was hearing. I think it might have been Jerry Seinfeld talking about their first time on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. And it was like, at 4 p.m. that day, nobody knows who you are.
Right.
And the following morning, everyone, you can't walk down the street. You're that guy who was on Carson last night.
I had a similar experience on the first time I did Joe Rogan. Right. I did Joe's show. I went to the airport the next day, I think it was in LAX or whatever, and just got waved through security.
Wow.
Joe's show. Yeah.
Wow.
That's like 3.5.
The Rogan badge.
They hardly, but that feels like that's an equivalent sort of thing now in terms of going, well, that's the big show.
It's still niche. It's still niche. Most people, I mean, go on, Carson in like the 70s or something like that. But was the only thing on. Was the only thing
Carson in the 70s was, yes, America. But it was just America.
That's true.
We heard about it maybe in the UK. We had kind of some vague idea that it was going on over there.
Yeah.
It seemed very glamorous, but there was nothing over here that was the equivalent. And late night, the finances didn't work in the same way. So it was like, it was there. Now that it's global.
Yeah, that's true.
The thing that I've noticed really, the idea of English being the lingua franca has increased in the last 15 years. I've been touring kind of around the world for maybe 15 years properly. And I've really noticed a difference. And I think it's YouTube. I mean, while ABC and NBC or BBC and ITV or whatever the channels are, Channel 7 and Channel 9 in Australia, were arguing over who's going to win Saturday night's ratings battle, YouTube just came in and stole their lunch. Yeah. YouTube is the biggest TV channel in the world by some margin. And I can't see there being a competitor. It's a natural monopoly where everyone posts there. Everything is a YouTube channel now. So the big brands are no longer the broadcasters, it's the shows. So you hardly even know where the show is.
That's right.
If you want to watch a show, if you go, oh, we're going to watch White Lotus, you kind of have to ask, is that Netflix?
It's annoying.
Or Amazon, or is it?
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's a Prime. And you're looking for the thing, but that becomes and I think that's the way it will go, where you've got the shows become the thing.
Yes.
And kind of YouTube's the model. I mean, they'll change again,
yes,
obviously, inevitably.
You're doing more crowd work these days, or am I just imagining that?
I'm filming it. I only started filming it last year. So I had this great thing where, envy and jealousy, right? They're sort of conflated terms, right? And it doesn't matter which way round, but one of them, let's say jealousy, is I don't want you to have that. I don't want you to have that. And it's an ugly, horrible thing. But envy can be very positive because you look at what someone else has and you go, I want that. And knowing what you want, I think, is an incredibly powerful thing.
I'm feeling that about your tie right now, by the way. It's a beautiful tie.
Thank you. So I was watching Matt Rife and Andrew Schultz, and I was looking at them, and they're selling arenas in the States. And I was going, I want to sell arenas in the States. And then I was looking at what they're doing online. Loads of crowd work. And I go, I do loads of crowd work every night. And oh, yeah, but those guys film it and then post it. I just wasn't doing the last bit. And I went, oh, well, that's the thing to do. And then instead of getting people can get very pissy in comedy about, well, that guy's doing well, I want to be doing well. The narcissism of small differences, you could never find a better example than comedy. It's like people that are doing basically the same job, being really snipey with each other. Yes. It's the same thing. We're all in this together. What do you want? And it's growing a pie. But I watched those guys. I watched what they did and went, well, I should do this. So I got this great videographer to come out with me on tour, film everything. And then I was kind of surprised at how much original stuff I generate in every show, because it is that going on stage, you've written the show and you want it to be 200 very well crafted one-liners that is sort of, and it's kind of like polishing stone. It's like, I really focus on that. I spend all my time writing jokes. And then there's the playful space within that where you can just go, okay, we've done 20 minutes of, 3 jokes a minute, and everyone's in that slightly heightened euphoric state. And then you go, all right, any questions? What are we talking about? What would you like jokes about? And then it's like seeing a magician do real magic.
Yeah.
Because you're allowing them to kind of go, well, sometimes you could win. Sometimes the heckler wins, and it's glorious. It's like, it's such a fun moment. But even if they don't win, it's like, it's so fun. And I had the experience just like a week ago of what it's like. I was on holiday, and Andy Murray was at the same hotel. I'm a big tennis guy. Andy Murray's there. I know him a little bit. And he very kindly came and he went, oh, hey, how are you doing? We should hit a ball. We've got a tennis court. Why don't we hit a ball? Went out the next day, played tennis for them for an hour. And he sent me a lovely message the next day saying, you were much worse than I thought you were going to be. No, much worse. And I could not give a fuck. I was like, it was Make-A-Wish. It was like so perfect. I loved it. And sometimes people go, why would people heckle at your shows? And you go, yeah, it's fun. They know I do this for a living and I take it very seriously.
Yeah.
And they're just messing around. And sometimes I'll eviscerate them, but it's within the spirit of fun.
Yes.
Like you can't have a bad heckle with your audience because it's your audience. I mean, sometimes it's someone else's audience. You can. I once got heckled at someone else's show beautifully by, you know this guy Nick Helm?
Yeah.
He's a musical comic. He's wonderful. Right, so I used to see him every year in Edinburgh. I would always make sure I was seeing his show because he just really gets me. And I've got a weird laugh. So instead of laughing on an out breath, like, ha-ha, it's always on a ha-ha-ha. It's a weird innie laugh.
Like you're being strangled by Jack the Ripper.
That's it. So I go to see his show. I hold it together for the first 10 minutes and he does the song and I just absolutely lose it, like properly a laughing fit, like, and really poor focus. And he just stops the show and goes, all right, Jimmy, I don't laugh when I come to see one of your shows. God damn you. God damn you.
That's very good. And when someone does heckle and when you're doing that audience interaction, so what's going on in your head? Is it the first instinct to hunt for a gag that you know you've got in your back pocket that you can whip out?
That's the last resort.
Okay.
The last resort is, okay, so if I get asked something that I've been asked a million times before, you've got your go-tos. So and some of them are nice. Sometimes it's like, it's more like being the jukebox.
Yeah, exactly.
And they go, hey, Sean Locke, you got any stories? And I go, of course I've got stories. I tell you stories. Yeah. And you're in service of the audience. And sometimes it's a genuinely interesting inquiry that you've never heard before. And then that's more fun for me because you go, well, this is the bit of the show I haven't heard. Let's see what happens. And you don't quite, and trying to land the laugh and trying to find that thing, it's really fun. It's like a writing exercise.
And when you try something out and it doesn't work during an audience exchange, at what point do you bail on it? At what point do you double down on it?
They don't know when the funny bit was meant to be. It's not like, well, he'll do 3 lines and then the funny bit. Right. It's like, they're just thinking, well, he's talking.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll allow myself, maybe a ratio of about 100 to 1, I'll allow myself a serious moment on stage. Someone asks something and you go, well, okay, well, we can talk about that.
Yeah.
So I allow.
Or I've seen a clip where like someone was dying of cancer, for example, and like you're not going to make
jokes about cancer.
Yeah, but I mean, it's mostly just saying thank you for coming out and I hope you have a good night. No, you don't want to like, you're going to die.
Well, it's amazing how the kind of comedy that I do, I sort of say this in the show, that having a very dark sense of humor only really pays off on the worst days. Like when you're really going through it, if you lose a loved one, if you get the diagnosis, when something awful happens in your life, you've got to feel bad for the people out there that are easily offended. Because they've just got to white knuckle it through that. And like on our worst days, if you have that sense of humor, you get to laugh a little bit and it does soften the blow. That's where I think why comedy? Why do we do this thing? What's the telos? What's the purpose of this? And it's remote grooming is what it is what laughter is. That's the evolutionary benefit of it.
So we've already talked about telos, and now we're talking about grooming. So you're going from philosophy to pedophilia in a heartbeat.
Well, Jimmy, it's that thing of well, that's classic me. That thing of like going, there's a thing called the Dunbar number. Yeah. Where you can have like 50 great apes in a group and they would all kind of groom each other. And then you get to 60 and 10 of them would go, we never see those guys. Let's start our own pod. So they go and do their thing. And we get to 150 because we developed language.
And 150 meaning the number of people who you can sort of keep in your social group and kind of know. Yeah.
Yes, kind of know. And I think that's even true it's often quoted with social media. So obviously people go, well, I've got 10,000 friends on Facebook. And you go, well, not really. But I get what you mean.
Yeah.
But that idea of linguistically, language-wise, laughter being something that signifies, most laughter is what they call fake laughter. It's kind of the eye raise and the, bus is late again kind of thing. Mm-hmm. but it bonds people. It really kind of bonds people together. So there's a purpose to it. And I think the idea of like the coping mechanism, the idea of being able to get kind of, because what is laughter, what are jokes, is kind of perspective on stuff and being able to kind of step back and see a bigger picture. And often that's kind of the, I suppose, what a lot of mental health issues come down to is, you know, a blinkered focus.
Yes. I mean,
where you can't see that.
You said life, life must be hard for people who are constantly outraged at everything because they don't get to laugh. But do you suspect that people who are constantly outraged at everything are getting their rocks off from the outrage as well? Like maybe it's just an alternative method of finding sort of some macabre joy. Like there seems to be a glee amongst the people who are perpetually offended by everything.
I don't know. I mean, maybe, but I always think like if they're perpetually offended by something, like my sense of humor is not for everyone. I think there's probably quite a lot of people that would look at my stuff and go, well, this is just disgraceful. This is just ban this filth. But some people like it, and then there's other comedy for them, which, you know, I always often think, I mean, again, that the narcissism of small differences. Some comics are very sneering about other comics, but they might go, oh, well, you know, that's very, very bland, or that's, you know, that's not funny. You go, it's just not for you.
Yeah.
I often get it when, you know, I watch lots of kids shows for the kids, and you know, it's not to your taste. But the kids are absolutely loving it. Yeah, what's the same with comedy? Not everything's for everyone. The always thing with me, when people get offended by me now, I sort of go, well, you bought tickets to a horror film, and now you're complaining you're scared? What? I mean, okay, but just leave.
Yes. I just saw Nikki Glaser in Sydney, and the woman next to me is laughing until she says the word retard. And at that point, she's kind of drunk, this woman next to me. Nikki's doing a bit about, you know, which is intentionally provocative because she's fucking Nikki Glaser. And it was great, and everyone was laughing. But the woman next to me, no, she starts saying no.
But even that.
She leans over to me and she goes, I work with children with special needs. No.
What else?
No.
The milk monitor?
I was like, you came to see, and also you've been laughing at a whole bunch of things that many other people would find offensive. She happens to touch your pet subject, and all of a sudden you think that you have the right to disrupt the show. A billion other things that she's already said would have been offensive to other people.
How performative that is as well.
Right.
That she feels she has to make the noise and do the thing, and other people around me need to know that I'm not buying into this. And okay.
Yeah.
I guess it's about you.
Exactly. We came here to find out what you had to say about Nikki's material. Do you find audiences any different when you're doing crowd work between countries?
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a big variance, really, in terms of going, like, you know, playing in the States, you'd be hard pressed not to get a standing ovation in the States. People just, they get up and you came and you did the show and they're up. They're getting up anyway. In the UK, you'd be the risen Christ. No one's getting up.
Right. Interesting.
And that thing of like the willingness to jump in.
Yeah.
In the UK, people are very willing to get involved and heckle and be abusive and rude and great. And in America, people are like, sorry, we're meant to say something there?
How interesting.
Are we fucking up the show? I don't want to fuck up the show.
Wow. Because I find Americans much more talkative. If you shove a microphone in their face and a camera on the street, let me tell you about Joe Biden. You know,
and I think stand-up is an American medium, and I think the clubs there policed heckling, because heckling was associated with only the negative.
Right.
Only people saying, you know, fuck off your shit or shut up, or a negative kind of throwing rotten vegetables. It was Waldorf and Statler in the Muppets. That's heckling. As opposed to, we're all trying to do something here, and it's crowd work. Mm-hmm. So really, it's like, heckling is maybe not the best term. Maybe it is crowd work, because you're messing around with people.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you're asking them legitimate questions. They're not just telling you to fuck off.
Yeah.
Is there any way to prepare for it, for crowd work specifically?
I think intentionally, yeah. Like, we're all here to have fun, and remembering if someone misjudges it, just be incredibly forgiving, because sometimes people misjudge it. They kind of don't know where the boundaries are. They haven't done this before. They're just a punter. So if they shout something horrific out, you kind of go, okay, peace, calm down. We'll manage that. Let's not worry about that. It's not going to ruin our evening. We've all made dicks of ourselves. That's fine.
Yeah.
And then it's, you know, everyone's kind of in service of the evening. You're making it fun for everyone, and making it feel like it's an event that this happened tonight. This is, you bought a ticket to the show. You came to the show. You weren't at home. You can't pause this and watch it any other time. It happened in the room now, and we have like a shared experience. So it's often that lovely thing when you do a callback to something that happened in the room that night, and it's like the biggest laugh of the night because people, yeah, that's our thing.
It's fabulous, isn't it? Yes. That's the beautiful thing about improv as well as crowd work. It's like this thing only happened once. We were the only people who saw it. It's never going to happen this way again. It's not like a stand-up routine, which may be exactly the same in every city. I know that this is never going to happen again. You were talking about podcasts, and I wonder what you make of, one of the downsides of this fragmentation of the media and the fact that punks like me are, doing our own thing instead of all aspiring to become David Letterman, is that there's a lot of different voices, and you can notice how some themes get magnified and amplified. There's this whole conversation amongst me and my peers about whether you should worry about platforming people, whether it's okay for Joe Rogan to talk to World War II revisionists who seem to be sounding like they're apologizing for Nazis. And
but I think the idea of platforming someone or deplatforming, who watches the watchers? So you go, the fact that Bill Maher going and having dinner with Donald Trump was critiqued, it strikes me as like that's that way madness lies, because the far left and the far right think the other one's the problem, right? The far right think the far left's the problem, the far left think the far right's the problem, right? The moderates at least can agree what the problem is. They have different ideas on how to solve the problem, but they would agree, yeah, there's a problem here. It's the economy, there's an issue around immigration, there's an issue with suicide in our youth, women self-harming. This is what the problem is. Let's focus on that, as opposed to just blaming the other team for whatever their stance is. And I think that thing of not talking to people is crazy. And I love long form. I love the idea that people can come on a podcast, and if they are a grifter, they will show their ass.
Maybe
over the course of 3 hours.
But if they're a good grifter and there's no pushback, they may not show their ass.
Well, that seems, it's, yeah, I listen.
You know what I mean? Like,
it's hard.
It depends how you do the interview, I suppose. Yeah. If the interviewer is digging in and asking probing questions and challenging the guest, that's one thing. But I understand the criticism. I'm not sure I agree with it, but I understand the criticism that, you don't give Donald Trump an open microphone for 90 minutes and then not push him on X, Y, or Z.
Yeah.
Well, maybe
but as long as you offer that to Kamala as well, I think that's kind of okay. I think it's okay to say, have who you want to have on your show. You don't have to have someone on if it's just going to be a horrible disagreement and you're just going to argue. But maybe you do. Piers Morgan's kind of made a career of getting people on that hate each other and they argue. And some people like seeing those sparks. I'm not particularly a fan of it. I like, when it's a playful conversation. Conversation is a playful thing anyway. And then you're trying to sort of build and get to somewhere. So I think the idea of going, we shouldn't platform these people. Well, let's draw up the list then, shall we? That feels very authoritarian to me. And I'm very much, it's not really about left, right. It's a liberty authoritarian. And the idea of saying, okay, well, let's come up with a list of people who can't have on a podcast. Well, I'm going to be on that list at some point.
You're already there, mate.
Yeah, well, maybe for some. But that thing of going, it's you go, well, who's going to make that decision as to who you can trust? And I think I often think COVID was awful, right? COVID was awful in so many ways. But one of the ways it was awful was we lost so much trust in the authorities. And that does not mean we don't need the authorities. It just means we need better authorities, right? We don't need new institutions. We just need to fix the ones that we have. We've got a great system, I think, but it needs to be better. It needs to be fit for purpose in the modern world. And I think they tried to bullshit us, and people called that. And now suddenly it's like you go from being very skeptical about COVID vaccines to being very skeptical about all vaccines. It's a category error, I think.
And then to being very skeptical about whether Hitler was such a bad guy, or whatever the next step might be.
But then is it okay that we relitigate? We maybe need to relitigate everything that the previous generation fought for. The thing about the revisionist historians, the coming on and spouting that drivel, Hitler wasn't such a bad guy. Fucking hell. But that idea of going, is that the symptom of a much bigger problem, which is the basis of the society that we live on was Pax Americana. The American Navy will save us and they'll pay for everything and they'll protect the world and globalization. And the foundation myth that was built on was World War II. And that foundation myth is crumbling. So, and the symptoms are you get people like that are speaking and there's an audience for them. And Kanye singing about Nazis is maybe it's the canary in the coal mine of that. Well, that myth is fading. We need to, what's the quote? I'm not entirely sure a country that doesn't love its past can have a future. So you need to find that common ground, that myth, that thing that unites us. And often it is those things of like, if you go and see great music or great comedy or and the things that what is it that's bringing us together? And we sort of don't have that at the moment.
No, we have it less and less, I think, with the fragmentation of the media. And I mean, I take your point. Of course, you don't want some bureaucrat in a back office writing down a list of names of people who Joe Rogan should and shouldn't speak to. But I think there are also, it's not like the alternative to having no judgment about who you're platforming is that there's a perfectly blank and open space in which all speech is free, in the sense that algorithms and clickbait and audience, the sort of feeding one's audience ever sexier, clickier things is an imperative of its own. So I'm just talking about being mindful as a creator or an interviewer of inviting people on of not getting stuck inviting people who feed a particular set of priorities. So there's like a conversation, for example, I'll give you an example that I've seen a lot lately about how Britain's headed for civil war because of the lack of integration of its mostly Muslim population.
Right. Is this David Betts?
It might be, yes.
Yeah, okay.
So I've heard people talk about it, I've seen him going around it, but it's not just him. Like there's a podcaster Stan has become
but the sky
interested
falling
in this
The sky
idea.
is falling in is a very interesting idea. Here's what I think about the coming civil war. I look at the bigger picture. Look at the footfall. Look at the footfall, right? Where are people coming to? Well, they're coming to the Western world. We're doing something right. Because if you look at where there's 9 billion people in the world, and there's a lifestyle available to about 500 million people in America and the UK and Canada and Australia. And they all have institutions that are sort of from Britain.
The New Zealanders are going to be pissed that you left them out, but sure.
No, they'll be all right. They'll live. But the idea, everyone wants to come to that. And you go, well, okay, well, that's telling us something, I think. People vote with their feet and they want to be here. So we're doing something right.
Yes.
And yet we take sort of no pride in that. And I think exporting those institutions is, I think, a very interesting idea. On like, instead of foreign policy being about tanks and guns, it should really be about better constitutions. Because I'm constantly amazed, like the richest countries in the world in terms of their minerals, DRC and Venezuela are the poorest places to live in the world. Why is that? That makes no sense, right? And
what do they call it? A resources curse.
Yeah.
Basically, that if you're incredibly resource rich, you're probably a basket case. There are very few countries that aren't. And two of the ones that you just mentioned are one of the only ones, Canada and Australia, thanks to probably their British institutions, two of the only countries in the world that have absolutely gobsmacks of like massive amounts of natural resources and also functional democracies.
Yeah. It's very interesting, that thing of like going, I sort of like that Derek Parfit, the Reasons and Persons, the idea of like going, if you look at the world over globally and think about let's imagine, I mean, we're not in charge of anything, right? I'm a comedian, you're a very good journalist, but I think the idea of like going, what are we going to change in the world? What are the things that are important? What should we triage that needs to be fixed? And for me, it's like, there's big problems that no one is talking about. And it's really sad that everything gets the attention, right? So let's say the trans issue the last 10 years. How much attention has the issue that affects a very small minority of people that, I mean, I've got trans friends and they just want to do their fucking thing. You have to, all you need to do, the trans thing is solved very easily. Know the difference between public and private and know the difference between an adult and a child. You're done. See, super simple, right? You go smoking globally. Smoking is a huge problem, and it's like the devil. The greatest trick it pulled was making you believe it didn't exist. Smoking is a massive problem, bigger than it's ever been. And yet, because It's going to, in Britain and America and Australia, we can't smoke anymore.
No,
So,
it's all 14-year-old Indonesians.
oh, well, fuck those guys then, right? It's like terrible. Burning biomass fuels kills 3 million people a year. And you'd be hard-pressed to find anyone that gives a flying fuck. It's awful.
Yeah.
But you go that thing of like going, well, what are the important things? What are the winnable things? What are the things that we could change pretty easily?
I mean,
the technology's there. I love that William Gibson thing. The future is here, but it's not evenly distributed.
Yes. I mean, you say that the trans issue affected a very small proportion of people. It should have affected a small proportion of people, except for a slightly crazed activist class trying to make it affect half the population because it would have had ramifications for all women, right? I mean, so that's why it distracted us. But I agree with you that the idea. I mean, I felt the same way during Brexit, where the amount of capital, just informational and attentional capital that was being expended on this thing for the lead up and then the subsequent 5 years. I mean, a great country like the United Kingdom could have done so much by just devoting that amount of thinking to any other issue. You could have solved climate change with the amount of chatter. Every time I came here for 5 years, everyone was talking about one thing. I was like,
it's interesting that thing of like, how much responsibility we take, because what do we want to be as a country? We go. It strikes me that for a long time our policy is basically to export our guilt. So we're net zero, so we're just going to import gas from Russia. Well, it's one planet. It doesn't make any difference where you're getting it from. If you're getting it in from them, that's...
Australia does the same thing. We don't count the coal that we export in our own carbon things. And we're nuclear free, but we're the second largest exporter of uranium to the world. But we're clean. We're nuclear free.
Yes, and then you things like, oh, we're going to build some solar panels. Well, who were they built by? Oh, Uyghur slaves in China.
Absolutely.
What?
Yeah. Very efficient.
I'm going to complain about it on social media on my phone made by the slave's cousin.
Yes. But also then when I get on social media, I'm going to notice something about cars, and I'm not even going to talk about the Uyghurs anymore.
Well, I think it is that thing with the great thing about shows like this is you get into a slightly more complicated conversation about, look, there's no solutions, only trade-offs. It's that thing of you go, well, look, you can't have it all. You've got to make some trade-offs here. And who should we be helping? Who should we be? You need a safety net in the country. You need but you also, like, the left need a great policy on immigration. Because if reasonable people won't police your borders, unreasonable people will. And you don't want that. So you go, well, what are we going to do? What's going to be the solution? It strikes me that there's quite easy solutions that people just don't seem willing to...
Like what?
Well, the immigration thing is like, you've got an incredible... We live on an island, very porous borders, and people keep on talking about policing the borders. We're not building a wall or a fence. Because it's really boring, but employment law. You just go, oh, any of the big companies that employ people that shouldn't be here get massive fines every day.
Do they not?
No. So you take away, life's about incentives, right? If you take away the incentives, then, put down sugar, you get ants, right? If you have great incentives to come to a place, people come to a place. And if you take away the incentives, then they won't. So you have to take away some of those incentives. And then you don't need ICE. You don't need armed guys kicking in doors if you go, oh, you can't work here because you're not legally meant to be here. And then we need to make the immigration process so much easier, because at the moment, the immigration process is only for white collar people. It's not for blue collar people. And we don't only need white collar people. We need blue collar people. We need, working class people. My parents came over in the early 70s to the UK. I'm an immigrant to this country. I was born here, but the family were an immigrant family. And we had a fucking great time. Welcomed. We need these workers. They're doing this thing. Great. But it should be an easy process at both ends. At the moment, we can afford to go around the world and work where we want to work because we can employ a lawyer to go through the thing. It needs to be an easier system. And I think, Australia's done a pretty good job. And it was a right-wing government that did that.
Yeah, I mean, Australia has the problem that you're talking about with the blue-collar thing, though. It's very hard to get, there's a massive shortage of blue-collar workers in Australia. You can't find people to do menial jobs because there aren't enough visa categories for them, because we have been quite good at making sure that everyone who comes to Australia is the cream of the crop. I mean, it strikes me that hasn't Britain gotten most of its blue-collar workers since the start of the European Union from Eastern Europe? Wasn't that the...
Yeah.
Because they were Polish originally, right?
Yeah. It was not... I mean, I think that thing about going, it's what's the rate of immigration you can have and remain if you're going to double your population, then it changes it. So how many people can you have? And you should have that many. And but also I think making places more, why have a lot of those people gone back? Well, those countries have progressed.
They've gotten better.
They've gotten better. So it's that thing of like, you go, well, you don't quite know what the future holds.
Yeah.
In terms of like, what do you want to be as a nation? Yeah. But, Britain is a very small nation, but it could be fantastic.
It once was an entire empire, in fact, ruling the world. I mean, I still don't understand why the people on the boats, I mean, we don't have to get sidetracked by immigration, but I mean, I am genuinely baffled by what kind of administrative and legislative thicket the United Kingdom has gotten itself into, that there are still people setting off from France on boats. Why are the French... Who are the police forces in France? Why isn't the UK strong-arming the French government and saying, if a single boat leaves France, that's it. We're sending the ships over, there's no, like, no one's playing hardball.
You have no due process on the way in and due process on the way out.
Right.
So you get stuck in the weeds. It's very easy to come, and then getting rid of people becomes like, it's...
Of course, because once you have them, then it's your duty of care. That was the trick that Australia pulled, which is to say they never actually arrived, because we intercepted them off the coast in international waters, and we shipped them to a desert concentration camp on a different country, and therefore we don't have the responsibility under the Refugee Convention to process them.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of Faustian pact, but it's effective.
Yeah, well, then you take away the incentive. So I'm sure no one tries now.
No, that's right. Exactly. Yeah,
because this is just, this is awful. So there's a cost benefit analysis to be done there, which is the reason I'm a comedian is because I don't want to think about these things.
Yeah,
it's like, because there's no easy solution to this, and it's the Dunning-Kruger thing often comes up. Like, if your opinion on any of these issues you can fit it on a placard, you probably haven't thought it through fully, because there's always some trade-offs, and it's always kind of it's always difficult.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned Kanye earlier and the N-word. What is going on with that gentleman?
What, with Kanye?
Yeah,
I think he's genuinely a genius, and I think it's often in our world, genius is way overused as a term, and I think a lot of the time all it is hyper-accelerated rationality. Because of very quick thinking, and you go, "Wow, this guy's super smart, and he's got good recall, great." But to actually conjure something new from nothing is unusual. And I think Kanye is an incredible genius. And I think with that comes a huge toll on your mental health. And I think it's all, I don't think, benefit of the doubt, I don't think he means any of the things that he is saying. I think he's similar to a 5-year-old child that's learned the naughtiest word and is running around the playground shouting it, because it's just being transgressive for the sake of being transgressive. But he does seem to be kind of a tuning fork on culture. He seems to kind of be, he's a fascinating character. I kind of wish someone was taking care of him. I slightly get I remember seeing Amy Winehouse just before she died in New York, sort of bumped into her, and she got married about a year and a half before, and she looked very frail and was taking a lot of drugs. And I remember thinking, wow, she looks like, having a brief conversation with her in the lift and chatting a bit, and just thinking, oh, wow, this doesn't end well. And it wasn't my responsibility. I didn't do anything. I didn't step in. There's no intervention. I didn't know her like that. But no one did. No one did. I'm fascinated by that, the 27 Club. The idea that lots of artists die when they're 27. Why is that? I think it's because artists are feeling more than regular people. And sometimes they need to numb that. They need the anesthetic of drugs and alcohol, because everything to them is wounding. And that's partly what gives us the incredible art. But also it must be a very difficult thing to live with. And you lose these people from time to time. And it feels like there's no methodology for helping someone in Kanye's position. It's almost like that thing of the worst healthcare in the world is the very, very poor, because they get nothing, and the very, very rich because they get whatever they want. So, I mean, there is kind of mental health is kind of it's a very interesting topic, because most of mental health, I feel people are trying to solve for the individual, and I don't think it works like that. I think we have dispersed identities. I think our identity is tied up with our partners and our friends and our children and our colleagues, and we're different people with different people. There isn't like everyone kind of slightly different in different groupings. And I think that's where mental health has become, the isolation has caused a mental health crisis. And I don't think we can solve it with an app on the phone. I think it's going to be other people in groups and feeling part of something.
Have you ever found it tricky juggling the public Jimmy Carr with the private Jimmy Carr and straddling the multiple identities that fame brings?
Not particularly. I mean, I think I've got quite a nice level of fame where it's, listen, I sell tickets and I do very nicely, but people are not fascinated by my personal life. It's not like that thing of like reality TV. There's different kind of ways of, you make a deal with, okay, well, I do this, but I don't do that stuff. I love coming and talking to you. I love these conversations, and that's a different side of me. I wrote a book a couple of years ago and kind of launched into, well, occasionally I'll go and talk to people and be in a slightly more serious mode. And that's nice to do. And I feel like I'm old enough and I've lived enough that I have something to add, but it's not like...
Well, although one of the things that I like about not being famous is being able to be grouchy, being able to be irritable, being able to be sloppy and boorish, and being able to go out on the street looking terrible and feeling grumpy. Do you not ever do that and then suddenly realize, oh fuck, this person probably recognizes me, so now I have to be nice and I have to have the energy of...
No, I think I've set expectations very, very low. So
you wear a three-piece suit,
but often when people come up to me in the street, if any sort of come up and they want a photo, I go, yeah, no problem at all. They're slightly taken aback by, I thought he was going to tell them to fuck off. Because if you just watch the heckle stuff and it's kind of context dependent. So they think he's, I'll be very barbed all the time.
Right.
Fine. And people are very polite. I mean, like the vast majority of people absolutely get it. There's something that we get if you're with the kids, people just leave you alone. If you're kind of on your own, or they wait till you finished eating, come over and want a selfie. Fine.
That's nice.
People are very respectful. I'm kind of... I'm kind of blown away by how nice people are.
Right.
Of course.
Have you seen the South Park episode yet?
Oh, the Trump one. I haven't seen it. Yeah, I love it. I mean, those guys, how consistently brilliant are they? It feels like they're not even in show business. They're like show business adjacent. Like they do their thing. They're kind of sealed off from the rest of the world. They just do their thing, and then occasionally... And you've been killing it for like 25 years?
It's incredible, isn't it?
Like,
yeah.
I mean, I still think the Book of Mormon is maybe the funniest. Like, it's such a great show.
And the courage.
I took Stephen Hawking to see it because Stephen Hawking really liked musicals. That was like his, and the guys that took care of him really liked musicals.
I can't even tell if this is the setup to a gag
or
a true story.
He's a really good friend of mine. Okay. So he used to like to go to musicals. He'd liked them, but he knew that his nurses and carers really liked them. So we're going to see a musical. So we went to see the Book of Mormon with him. And then they wanted to meet him afterwards. Of course, they bloody did. And then, so we were there with the cast. And obviously, Stephen's got one cheek muscle at that point. Like, he's going to send me an email of two lines the next day. And that'll take him half a day to type. So I'll do the talking. So I just said, oh yeah, he's discovered religion recently. He's quite interested in the Mormon faith. And the crew are the cast are going, oh, has he? Oh. And Stephen looked at me like, fuck off.
I wouldn't tell you to fuck off, but it'd take me an hour.
Yeah, the great advantage of having tetraplegic friends. But those, the South Park guys are phenomenal, and it's always transgressive, and it's always like the slightly, they go with the great targets and skewer them, and just it's perfect.
I mean, it gave me hope. It made me optimistic about the vitality of the public sphere and of entertainment and of satire, because all of the opposition to Trump has been so dour and so kind of like resistance. We're going to resist and persist and I don't
think you can win like that. I think there's a weird thing ongoing. Donald Trump is an endlessly interesting character, I find. Like, the comeback is phenomenal. It's Nixon being re-elected post-Watergate. It's P. Diddy sweeping the Grammys. It's Harvey Weinstein getting the Lifetime Achievement at the Oscars next year. It's like, it's an impossible comeback. We don't even see that now, because that was a year ago. So we just, okay, that's like, we just factored that in. And then He's a billionaire whose kids adore him. That's weird. That's a weird thing. And no one talks about that. It's like, because we're so busy with the news cycle and the craziness and the heterodox. And I think he got in the same way as Brexit. I think a lot of it was a bit of divilment on the part of the voters. I think a lot of it was, well, let's shake things up a bit. I think Trump could have very easily been Bernie Sanders. I think Bernie Sanders could have been Trump. I think there was a real.
You think Bernie could have beaten Trump?
No, I think Bernie could have been Trump.
Oh, I see.
I think if the Democrats had a primary and said, "Okay, we're going with this guy," I think the same people that wanted to shake things up could have gone for him.
Yeah.
Like it's like they wanted someone that was an outsider. They wanted something that was a bit different. And I mean, he's certainly a fascinating character.
Yeah.
I mean, what's my joke about him the other day? I said he wants the Nobel Peace Prize. And my worry is if they don't give it to him, he's going to bomb Norway. He's kind of great to write jokes about, and then you kind of wonder where this all ends.
It's amazing, isn't it? I think you're probably right that especially back in 2016, Bernie could have potentially beaten him and probably had a better shot than Hillary, who was the quintessential establishment candidate. I mean, I saw some amazing polling, Jimmy, about the enthusiasm for change in America. And when you poll, it was a CBS poll, and if you ask people, is it worth tolerating, a high level of disruption in order to achieve change in America? The numbers are off the charts. It's like 60+% of people, which is quite unusual for Americans to agree on anything that much, agree that change is important enough. And this was a pre-election poll, so this is last year, right? That change was important enough to tolerate short-term pain, which is strange when things are going quite well. I mean, yes, inflation was high, but apart from that,
yeah. But I wonder. Okay, here's a question for you, right? Is Trump? Is everything that's going on in the world today? Is it contingent or convergent? So, is everything that's happening in the world now with America? Is it the sweep of history and Trump happens to be president now? Or is it because he was elected? Is it a sliding doors moment? Because I slightly think, well, a lot of this is inevitable. The Pax Americana, the idea that the US Navy protected the world post World War II and the Marshall Plan and Bretton Woods, the idea that system and the foundational myth of the World War II is crumbling, and Trump certainly seems to be speeding it up. But would it be this way whoever got in?
Well, it's both, isn't it? Surely. But I do tend to think that contingency does count for a lot. Like, yes, the grand sweep is going to happen in some way, somehow. Like the powder keg is primed, right? Like there's something is going to happen.
I'm very interested in this because I kind of go, okay, there's an agreement that America drew up in I think it was the early 70s. They drew up the Senate voted on something and said, we will not assassinate foreign leaders. How different would the world be, just as a thought experiment, if Putin had, died 20 years ago? Maybe he had an accident or something, nothing nefarious, but he died. And there was a different leader. Would the world be a vastly different place, or would the Russian Empire at that stage have always had to go for a strong man, and it would have been a different strong man? It's a very interesting thing to sort of think about. Are there key human beings?
Yeah.
And then because history seems to kind of, I don't know, history doesn't repeat exactly, but it's interesting. Like, I was thinking about this recently, like Elon Musk is a fascinating character, and he's almost the same as McNamara.
The defense secretary who took America into
Vietnam.
But
Elon Musk ran Tesla and then came in and did Doge. McNamara was running Ford Motor Company when he got a call from the president saying, you're going to have to take the pay cut because you come to work in Washington for me. You run this. It's really interesting. These car manufacturers both came and did it. And then if you watch The Fog of War, you go,
incredible documentary.
Oh, that didn't go great.
Yeah.
But then what else would have happened in that situation?
Surely the convergence has to explain the conditions that make a phenomenon possible. But I think the way that phenomenon unfolds is still contingent. Like, 1930s Germany is ripe for an anti-Semitic, hostile eruption. But without
Well, that's a
Without
interesting thing about
Hitler,
peace treaties.
like I don't think you quite get to the 6 million Jews. And similarly, like,
did you read Stephen Fry's book?
yeah,
Making
the
History.
the tennis. Is it the
Making
alternative history? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's a reimagined history. So someone goes back
Yes, I did
and
read that. Yeah.
sterilizes Hitler's dad. Okay, and then someone much worse
Emerges,
or not worse than Hitler, just someone much more capable
yes,
and mannered and manages to do the right deals and actually wipes out everyone. And you go, oh, like, I guess it could be worse. People say, oh, the world's in a terrible state. It could be worse.
absolutely.
I don't think anyone can envisage Kyiv being taken by the Russians. Like, no one is talking about that. No one thinks that could happen. That could happen. And that's a terrifying. Like, people think, well, thermonuclear weapons cannot be used. Well, yeah, they could be. It's, there's a lot of things out there that haven't happened.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, just 10 years ago, Jimmy, 10 years ago was pre-Brexit and pre-Trump, right?
And it's so true that
at that
over
time,
decades,
I
nothing happened.
I thought that liberal democracy had won. I mean, I really just thought that this is the end of history now. And now we're all kind of thinking, okay, all of this stuff is contingent. Like, it may be because of gigantic convergent forces that we're living through, but
well, they know about the fourth turning. Have you read about the fourth turning?
No.
Oh, that's interesting to look at. In the sweep of history, there's 80-year loops, and then we're in a crisis point, and there's a very good writer on this. So he basically kind of predicted all of this back in 1996. I'll send you the name of the writer.
Yeah, making a note.
He's good. Yeah, the fourth turning is the theory. I mean, we're very kind of Western world focused as well. I wonder what's going to happen.
Well, that's because we're the best.
Yeah, maybe. My friend had a theory. My friend Andrew had an interesting theory. You want to hear the crazy theory? Okay. So Andrew Maxwell's a comedian, Irish guy, wonderful guy, real proper polymath, very working class polymath. So he's always got an interesting take on things. He said, look at the CCP, right? Everyone that heads the CCP is an engineer. They're engineers, and then they become politicians. That's their thing. It's not really our tradition. We don't have politicians that were engineers. So they don't think anything can't be solved with a large engineering project. Okay? All right, I'll talk you through the logic. So the Channel Tunnel from Britain to France is 26 miles. Okay? And that was built 40 odd years ago and constructed with technology from 40 years ago. Mainland China, Taiwan are 108 clicks apart. I think they're already doing it. I think they're under there already, because why wouldn't they be? If they're going to take it, they should be like I think they're going to pop up like moles and go, all right, everyone, all right, we're not doing this in boats. Have you seen that water? It's bloody dangerous. I think they're going to pop up like that.
Right. It's possible.
If I was running Taiwan, I know what I would do as well. Well, I think it's I'm going to get the country wrong. And I spend so much time there. I think is it Norway or is it Denmark?
You tell me and I'll see if I know.
Okay. So in World War II, they got rolled by the Germans. And so now the defense policy is, we don't have an army. Let's not bother having an army, because we're going to inconvenience them at best. So what we have is an amazing home guard. So every place, almost like a fire station in the middle of every town, has got a place that has guns and ammo and grenades and everything you would need. And everyone is trained and does training days all the time. And you just go, okay, if they roll in, let them roll in. And then the resistance starts day one. And, day three, everyone goes and, go and get someone. And we all do it.
Yeah.
And so that idea of the home guard becomes ungovernable.
Yes. I mean, that's partly Ukraine's strategy. That's partly, you basically would want Taiwan to become like Fallujah during the Iraq War, where it's just there's no way of occupying this place unless the Chinese flatten it completely, which we hope they don't.
Yeah. I don't know.
I think if they were drilling we would hear it, right? We would hear it.
From Australia, you think?
We would hear it from Australia.
What's that?
We would put...
What's that?
We're
trying to watch the guy.
We have fabulous new submarines in a submarine deal with the United Kingdom and the US. We could hear. We'd be listening. We're there in the Straits. Surely we're listening with a little stethoscope up to the edge of the submarine. And they're listening. listening in?
Can you hear people drilling
Of
from
course you can hear people. Not from, no, we got...
You and I are assuming that
Taiwan.
no one's looking.
I still have faith. This is how naive I am.
Yeah.
That someone is watching out for us.
There's no grown-ups. This is it.
This is it?
Us talking shit is it.
This is it?
Yeah.
It's incredible, isn't it? It's the biggest revelation of my life was growing up and realizing that it's not true that somewhere someone's looking after the shop. They're all just big kids.
Yeah.
The whole world is held together with twine and sticky tape. No one's looking out for anything.
It's kind of why capitalism works. Because you go, well, look, circumstances change, but human nature sort of doesn't. People are, motivated by self-interest. So you just kind of let them crack on with that and see what's the best system. I mean, I fully thought that China kind of post Tiananmen Square becoming capitalist would lead to, I think everyone thought, well, that will lead to freedom.
Yeah.
And of course it didn't. And my worry now with AI, and a lot of people talk about AI at the moment, but my worry is the cost of running an authoritarian regime like the Stasi has fallen probably 4 magnitudes. It's
because of AI, you mean?
Because of AI,
so much
it's so
easier.
cheap now to run the cameras, to run the things, to facial recognition, to just like the idea that we'll be able to resist that temptation when it's that cheap to do seems unlikely. That's kind of what I worry about with AI. I mean, my hot take on AI, I've got a number of hot takes on AI.
Go for it.
All right.
Well, you could give me half of them and then I'll tell you whether I want all of them.
Yeah, tell me if it's boring. Just cut it out if it's boring. We were not made in God's image, but we so wanted there to be a God that we created one in our image. Okay. All-seeing, all-powerful, lives in a cloud, can perform miracles. That God or AI? Could be either, right? It's a really interesting thing. And at the moment, I think what AI does, and I'm not worried about it in the creative industries, because I think what AI is an almost perfect left brain. I'm a big fan of that writer, Ian McGilchrist, not writer, academic, genius, brilliant man. So he wrote The Mastery of Hemisphere about the left and the right brain, and how the left and the right brain don't do different things. They do the same thing differently. And the left brain is the culture that we live in. It's all about lists and it's all about breaking things down to the component parts. It's very good at complicated tasks. But the right brain is very good at the gestalt, at seeing the whole thing, at moments of inspiration. And it strikes me that AI cannot do that. It takes, I think, consciousness, which seems to be a right brain thing, to do that. So it's, yeah.
You want to see...
Is that boring?
No, I liked it.
No.
But is there another point about AI?
I'll loop around.
You want to see what ChatGPT came up with Jimmy Carr jokes? I got ChatGPT to write Jimmy Carr jokes because I knew I knew AI would come up.
Sure.
So here, let me. You can read out these. Do you need glasses or can you see?
No.
I got 4 jokes that ChatGPT wrote for you in the style of Jimmy Carr.
Okay. My uncle said he wanted to be buried with dignity, so we cremated him and lost the urn at a stag do. It's sort of joke shaped, I guess. My thing about the writing of jokes, my friend Charlie Skelton, who's a fascinating man, and he's a comedy writer, and we did a thing must have been 10 years ago now. We went to Oxford and we talked to a bunch of academics that were working on AI, and we brought some comedy writers with us. And we were chatting about how the Turing test is the wrong way round. Because the Turing test is all about, can you fool us? Anyone can fool us. Silicon tits can fool us.
Right.
We're easy to fool. Close-up magic fools us. Loads of things fool us. That shouldn't be the test. The test isn't about whether it can fool us. It's whether it can laugh. It's not about making us laugh. Can it laugh? Because the problem with AI is it can spit out 1 million of these in a second, but it doesn't know which is the good one.
No.
One of them might be brilliant, but it's almost like the monkeys with an infinite number of typewriters having a crack at Shakespeare, and then eventually they come up with Shakespeare.
Yeah.
But they won't know when.
No.
They won't know when it's Shakespeare.
No. Exactly. But I'm not sure that ChatGPT will ever write a better Jimmy Carr joke than Jimmy Carr does. Well,
it's interesting, that thing of like what the job is, because sometimes when it's like, let's say there's a big news story, and I'm going to write a joke about it, and I go, oh, I want to say something about that, or someone shouts something out, and you come up with something, and you go, okay, well, it's joke shaped. It's kind of it ends in this way. It's kind of surprising, whatever. So the best ones are always things that just kind of come to you, and you're in that mode of thought, and your subconscious mind just allows it kind of springs fully formed. So I don't think it's gonna. I mean, it's interesting with songwriting, where it's writing a lot of music. Is any of it good?
Well, I'm sure that it'll get good at writing pop songs. I'm sure it'll get good at writing courtroom thriller books, like, the sort of airport bookstore books that you buy, or like thrillers, cop procedural type books. It'll get good at writing episodes of Law and Order, and it'll get good at writing some Jimmy Carr jokes that aren't very good. But the sort of divine spark... The divine spark. Yeah. We don't need ChatGPT for bad Jimmy Carr jokes. He's got it handled.
Oh, well, I often say...
Don't put that away. What are you doing?
I've written more bad jokes than anyone in the audience. It's a weird thing where
right.
But the audience is the genius. The audience is because everything with me is split tested. So you go, the audience just sit there and you sort of tell them a joke, and at the end of the show, I always try new stuff. And if they laugh, then okay, all right, we'll work on that. And if they don't laugh, you go, okay, great, put that away. No need.
Yeah.
It's a really.
Do you go back and watch it, or do you just remember from the gig?
No, I make notes, and then
yeah. Right. When you get off, you go, don't do that one again. Maybe try it a different way.
It also gives you something to do during the day. It's that thing where you go, comedy is not repetitive; it's iterative. So people think, oh, well, I've done 1,000 gigs, and you go, you did the same gig 1,000 times.
Right.
You have to change it every time.
Yes.
You have to sort of, and then that sort of switching it. So when you see a show when it's kind of in full flow, when if you've been working on it for a year, the jokes are pretty honed in terms of you're squeezing every laugh out of those, and then the audience stuff is what it is. It's like I think you get better at it as well, because you just spend more time up on stage.
Yeah.
So you're sort of in that space. You're not kind of, you're pretty relaxed up there.
You're 10,000 hours, so to speak, even though that's mythical. All right, Jimmy Carr reads ChatGPT's Jimmy Carr joke number 2.
My ex said I was emotionally unavailable. I said, you're right. I even ghosted my own vasectomy appointment. I don't know. Anyway. I mean, they're all words. No idea.
I ghosted my own vasectomy appointment.
Yes. ChatGPT is probably quite pleased with that. They're thinking, come on, humans.
I've got penises in there.
You're made of flesh. I don't know what you pick. You eat and then you shit. What?
I've got ghosting. I've got an ex, so it's about relationships. They're gonna eat this stuff up.
Yeah.
Next one.
Right. Okay. I once had sex so bad, Siri called an ambulance. Not for her. For the punchline, I was trying to finish. That's quite meta, isn't it? I think ChatGPT might be broken.
We broke it. We did it.
I think so.
We managed.
These are.
We gave it an ask too hard. A Jimmy Carr joke. Too hard. What was the last one again?
I once had sex so bad, Siri called an ambulance. Not for her. For the punchline, I was trying to finish.
But there wasn't even a punchline in the setup. The setup was about sex. And then the punchline is about a...
Yeah. I mean, we don't want to give away too much to Siri, but yeah, that's how jokes work. It's the sudden revelation of a previously concealed fact tends to be the thing.
That's amazing, isn't it? I once had sex so bad, Siri called an ambulance. Is ChatGPT shitting on Siri here?
Probably, yeah. That's probably it.
Not for her. Who's the her? Siri or the girl you're having sex with?
The girl that called an ambulance?
No, Siri called an ambulance. You're having sex, and the ambulance wasn't for the person you're having sex with, but for the punchline you were trying to finish.
It's no use trying to work it out. It's just an algorithm just threw this at us.
Right.
There's no hidden meaning.
But the funny thing is that if I ask it to recommend Indian restaurants, I'll be like, take it to the bank. ChatGPT told me. I can be absolutely confident that what ChatGPT tells me about Indian restaurants.
Well, this is the problem, I think, with mainstream media I've had for years, which is if I read something about show business or comedy or touring in the paper, I go, well, that's some fucking bullshit. This clown doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. I'll tell you about the comedy business. I'll tell you what tickets are. There's no way they're grossing that on the tour. I'll tell you how. No, incorrect. And then I'll turn to the next story that I know nothing about in finance and go, well, these people clearly know what they're talking about. But
true.
as soon as you have any expertise, you go.
So true.
These journalists are like,
yes,
they've done basically the York notes, the quick. Oh, okay, this is what it is.
Absolutely.
They've Googled. They have no idea. When you're an expert on something, you kind of go, well, no.
That's right. It's so interesting. And same in entertainment. I mean, I watched, the Apple TV, the morning show. It was called Different Things in the Fair Markets.
Yeah.
But, Steve Carell.
Yeah, very good, yeah.
And having hosted a morning show on television, I just watch it and I go, that is absolutely not how it works.
That's not how you sexually assaulted colleagues.
This is not, exactly.
That's not how that works.
When I sexually assaulted my colleague, it was very different. No, it doesn't work. But then I watch The Pit about a hospital and I'm like, I can't believe emergency rooms are like that.
Yeah. I thought the weird one was like, I remember watching Chernobyl and thinking, wow, this is exactly what 80s Russia looked like. I think. I don't know. It's kind of like a light green paint.
Yeah.
Is the look. They just kind of decide, and whatever the decision they made, we all went, yeah, that's what Chernobyl looked like.
You know what I loved about that was the fact that they all spoke with British accents from different regional areas that represented the kind of class that they would have been from in Russia. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
So like working
I love it when
class
they do
people
that.
have like, working class, like Northern English accents. And
I love those decisions where they go, right, Game of Thrones. No Americans.
Yeah.
There's no Americans in Game of Thrones, you fucking idiot. No, you don't be crazy. There's some Spanishy sounding people and there's some British people, but and some of them are Northern because they live in the north.
Yes.
For Christ's sake.
That's right. The north of where? The north of this fictitious imaginary universe that they created. Yeah. Should we colonize space?
Should we?
Yeah.
You and
the two of us. That's what I'm asking.
I think so, yeah. I read David Deutsch's book, The Beginning of Infinity it's maybe one of the best science books ever written.
I've read The Fabric of Reality, which is his other book, but I haven't read
it's
that
good.
one.
So it's the idea that you go, right, there's 9 billion people alive right now. 14 times that have been alive in the past. It's a 14 to 1 alive to dead ratio of human beings as we would recognize them. And what if there are trillions in the future? What if this is the beginning of infinity? What if we're the only form of life in space and we colonize everything and we go everywhere? And it's not beyond the realms. I mean, there's been, no massive breakthrough in physics since 1972. Eric Weinstein and Peter Thiel talk about this a lot, the idea that if you minus the screens from the room, we're living in the early 70s. But what is the next breakthrough in science? What's the next thing that happens? So if there is a way to fold space, if there is a way to get out of this universe, then does humanity go on and on and on? And it's a very exciting, it's kind of a brilliant read. And the idea of kind of going, well, if that's the case, how do you, there's another great book called The Precipice. And it's about how, what are the limits? What, if we can get through this very difficult phase where we have Neolithic emotions and we have institutions from the Middle Ages and godlike technology, it's not a great mix at the moment. You don't want the angry eighth with his finger on the button. You want to kind of get everything up to speed. But if we can make it through this, then there's a very bright future. I kind of like that. So I think, yes, we should definitely colonize space.
There's a moral argument then that is consequential from that, which says that if there are going to be trillions of people in the future, then we should devote a lot more of our resources to making sure that humanity survives in the long term and that the planet is taken care of in the long term and helping people now.
Direct Parfit, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But the Parfit attitude conflicts with the Peter Singer attitude, for example, which says, well, there are people starving in Africa right now. In fact, what you were saying just before about, smoking being terrible around the world, the burning of biofuels.
Yeah, terrible.
So do you put your resources into, let's make sure that the people who are enduring real hardships now are alleviated? Or do you go, well, actually, in the long run, they're a rounding error on the people who we should be thinking about, which is the great-great-great-great-grandchildren. You know what I mean?
And how much of it is, if it works, like if being ethical was profitable, you wouldn't have to ask people, right? So you kind of go, well, what's the thing that's going to work and do us good? That's going to, lead by example. I mean, I think the idea that we're not I've said this before, but I sort of think Britain, it's a small place. It's what could our competitive advantage be? And I think energy is prosperity. I mean, they're basically the same thing, right? So if we made energy free in the UK, that would be everyone would go, well, where are you going to build the factory? Well, energy is free in the UK. And that just takes 20 years. It's like, because you could build all the nuclear power plants you wanted, put them in every town. Don't build one, don't build two, don't build a big one outside town. Build them in everywhere. We've already done the testing for this, which is the nuclear submarines. We built them for different purposes, but we basically got guys to live on nuclear subs for the last 70 years, and they're absolutely fine. There's no incidence of cancer. And you go, well, you just do that. You just build one of those in every single town, and you go, right, okay, but it's going to be expensive to begin with, and then the fuel bill will go to zero. Your heating bill or your air conditioning bill or whatever will go to zero, and that will be the example that becomes the thing where you go, well, if the unit's this size, then suddenly you don't have to build a grid for Africa. Why is Africa always being poor? Well, because it doesn't have traversable rivers, and the landscape doesn't allow for railways. So it's always been a very difficult place to get to develop.
What's the best argument for God?
The best argument for God is that we want there to be one. That's the argument. I mean, my favorite quote on God it's from AC/DC's Roadie. God is the name we give to the blanket we throw over the mystery to give it shape. And you can call that whatever you want. It's Buddha, or it's Allah, or it's Jesus, or it's science, or it's determinism, or whatever it is, whatever your philosophy is. It's stoicism, whatever, or environmentalism, whatever you're throwing at, whatever the thing that you kind of gets you off and gets you motivated. Great, but we know it's a mystery.
What's the best argument for there being an intelligence that created the universe with our welfare in mind?
I sometimes think I'm living in a simulation because it's just so good. And I would say that the worry is the hedonic treadmill of how we don't take into consideration just how good it is to be alive right now. Because obviously, privilege is fancy cars and nice suits and houses and all the material possessions. But you don't see the privilege of where we live now. If you've got 2 kids, I've got 2 kids. Okay, so 100 years ago, we both have 1 kid. Statistically, because one of the kids would have died in those 5 years.
Although we would have had 12 to account for the fact that
but
6 would die.
But that privilege is huge. Well, also 150 years ago, we would have been 98% of people working in agriculture. We'd be too tired to do the podcast because we would have done 16 hours toiling the fields.
And I'd be married to a lady and she'd be badgering me all the time. Yap, yap, yap. So I'd be too tired to do a podcast instead of Netflix and chilling with my bro.
Yeah. But that thing is like, it's kind of, we're in a way, we're incredibly privileged to be born now. And in a way, we're horribly disadvantaged because we weren't born in 100 years.
I hope so.
I do believe, but everyone's always like, oh, the world's falling in, it's terrible. Yeah, I don't know. It seems to be moving in the right direction.
Yeah. But you can't tell when it falls apart. I mean, we could have been, there would have been people who were in 1920 going like, the next 20 years are going to be magical. Next 30 years, it's going to be great. War's over.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
Yes.
I'm going to give you one word prompts, and you're going to say anything that you want to, like a Rorschach test or something, okay?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah. English prep schools.
I think people assume that I went to one because of the way I kind of present.
Yeah. You're a dandy.
Done anything about them. Never went, no interest.
Really?
Yeah.
Where'd you go?
I went to the local Farnham Common primary school. So it was the
and were you wearing a three-piece suit while you were at the primary school?
Closest school to my house. Yeah, Irish immigrant parents lived in Slough. Where
really?
The office is set.
Yes.
Not the nicest of towns, but it's fine. Very friendly people.
Did Slough's reputation change when The Office came out?
It did, and I feel slightly guilty because there is, I think, on the outtakes of the first DVD, as they were back then, of The Office, might have even been a video. It's me driving Steve Merchant and Ricky Gervais around Slough, going, "This is the place." So, like Henry's nightclub, which is in The Office, is a real place. It's a place we used to go.
Wow.
It was in Burnham Beeches, and so he was from Reading, which was up there, but Reading was a little bit too far.
But did you know Ricky and Stephen before The Office?
Yeah.
Right, so
we did actually.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Yes,
it's the anniversary of our first. We did an Edinburgh show. Myself, Ricky Gervais, Steve Merchant, and
Yes.
our friend Robin Ince did an Edinburgh show in 2001 together. We all went up and did kind of 15 minutes each. Great fun.
And you were driving them around Slough, so you are to blame for this.
He'd already decided. I had no part in that. He'd already decided it was, or Steve had decided it was Slough, because it was far enough away from London to be just out of reach, but not far enough away that you'd bother building an art centre and there'd be some fun stuff to do there too.
Yeah, it's also a great name. It's just a great word.
Come friendly bombs and fall on Slough. It isn't fit for humans now.
What's that?
Benjamin Britten's.
Oh, okay. Well, now you're classing it up too much.
Thank you.
Circumcision.
I'm again it. I think the idea that you go, oh, we need to do this for natural reasons. I mean, it's more obvious to see in female circumcision. We do not need to do that, but in male circumcision as well, I think it's fine. I don't think you need to. I mean, there's extreme cases where you need to, but very few and far between.
Margaret Thatcher.
I don't know. I mean, very harshly judged by history, but I would say 1979 Britain to 1989 Britain. If you're judging on results, she did great. Other than if you're an Argentine soldier.
Winston Churchill.
Yeah, very interesting character. From Gallipoli to the victory in World War II.
Yeah, thanks for Gallipoli, by the way.
Yeah, but that idea,
Aussies love that.
Yeah, well, no, but I mean that's one of the great tragedies that lest we forget the sacrifice made. It was incredible, and I mean that's kind of the comeback kid, right? I was saying about Trump being a comeback kid. Winston Churchill.
Yeah,
the comeback is extraordinary. Of like those tough times. I often think about that with reference to stand-up comedy. You know, stand-up comedy has comedy has a patron saint, St. Lawrence. And St. Lawrence in the 3rd century was sort of burnt alive. And that was his punishment. And they were 10 minutes into burning him alive. And he turned to the emperor and said, "Turn me over, this side's done." And I often think of that if you're telling a joke or you're getting dragged or cancelled or wherever you go, yeah, part of this job is bravery. Part of it is, Chappelle said a great thing about Evel Knievel. Chappelle was saying, it's being comedians like being Evel Knievel. He's not paid for the jump. He's paid for the attempt. Bit of bravery here.
Yes, I love it. I mean, speaking of contingency and versus convergence, Churchill's a good example of someone where I think that really was partly accidental that Britain had access to a prime minister with that level of grit at that time. And it could have been the case that the UK didn't get through 1940 had it not been for the existence of a guy like him. I mean, again, I don't think you could take it to the bank in 1939 that Britain was going to be able to survive until the Americans got into the war.
Extraordinary.
TikTok?
I believe I'm on it. I believe I'm doing very well.
Actually, I think one of your clips is still my most successful. Is that right, Jono? That one of my most successful TikTok clip ever is from the last time you were on the show.
Well, great.
I don't think I'm even in it.
Good.
But we get the clicks, I guess.
So, I don't know what the clicks.
They're not doing it. No, I don't get paid for them.
You never get paid on TikTok.
No, it's nothing. It's nothing.
It's fun. I think it's interesting. I think it's a very interesting point to be made about attention spans, because there's a lot talked about how people have got no attention span now, TikTok. But then if it's something great, it's a really interesting conversation. If Rogan has someone really interesting, or Eric Weinstein, he talks for 3.5 hours. People listen for 3.5 hours, and they love it.
Yes.
If someone makes Breaking Bad and it's 60 hours, you want to watch a show for 60 hours? Yes, I do.
I've watched it 3 times for 60 hours.
It's superb.
Yeah.
And you go, quality. Yeah, people have got attention spans for quality stuff. For bullshit, not so much.
Yes, media journalists often interview me for some piece that they're writing about the changing media landscape, and I often say that people today will either watch things that are 15 seconds long or 3 hours long, but there's no appetite for the 8-minute segment anymore. Yeah,
it's interesting the way that the appetites change.
If there ever was an appetite, or if it was just habit, that you sat down and you watched a grey old straight white man talk at you for half an hour in the evenings and tell you what was going on in the world, and it was, in chunks of sort of...
Really against the straights, aren't you?
I fucking hate them.
Hate the
fucking boring, mate. The US-UK special relationship.
Well, I'll shout out my friend George Mack. George Mack's one of the brightest men I know, and he wrote this incredible essay about agency, high agency individuals. I recommend you read it. It's a website. You can go to it, high agency. It's great. And his take on that is, if you're locked in a third world jail, you've got one phone call, who do you phone? Out of all the people you know, that's the most high agency person. Anyway, it's an interesting essay. That's a sidebar to UK, US, which he had a great take on, which I love, which is the UK's great sin is cynicism. And America's great sin is bullshit. And if you can when you take that into consideration, you kind of go, that's kind of
I like that. Yeah,
it's a great take.
Very
good on hot takes, George Mack.
Elon Musk.
Well, he's like, he did the salute or the hand gesture at the inauguration, and half the internet said he's a Nazi, half the internet said he's autistic. Can't he be both? There's a lot of overlap. Autistics and Nazis, they all love trains. My gag line was he's not, just for the record, Elon Musk is not a Nazi, he's South African, and there's a slight difference. Yes, my South African friends will appreciate that joke. I can do the voice. You've been very good.
Oh my God, they both like trains. That's savage. That is savage. Is that part of your routine at the moment?
It's not part of the routine. If it comes up,
should be part of the routine.
I think we put it out. Yeah.
That should be part of the routine. Capitalism.
I think very good. I think it's the reason it works. Capitalism is a great idea because it leans into self-interest, and human beings are self-interested. And I think communism is a great idea, wrong species. Be good for ants, just doesn't work for us. And that thing of like, but there needs to be checks and balances. You need a great welfare state. You need to. We also need to deal people in. There's a generation of people that can't afford to buy houses. We've been sold, like, house prices going up has been sold in the mainstream media as a good news story for the last 30 years. And it isn't. People need a place to live. That shouldn't be it. That's a way of accruing wealth. That's your retirement plan as you own a house. We need to have houses for young people. That's like it seems like such a simple thing. And I think it's achievable, but it's almost like a Doge level getting rid of planning regulations. And then I guess we build some stuff that collapses. There's going to be mistakes.
You don't have to. We know how to build big things, Jimmy. We can do it. But we just have to allow people.
But you have to get rid of some of that. We built up so much red tape around building in the UK that it's become sort of impossible.
Yes.
And I think you've got to let the system, because there's lots of demand for it. People want to live.
Keir Starmer.
Every time, I don't know whether this will translate for you, but every time I look at Keir Starmer, I think, well, somewhere in the Midlands, there is a mid-sized supermarket missing its manager. He's always prattling on about how his father was a tool maker. Yeah, he made you. No, I think, in seriousness, I think Keir Starmer is he's probably one of the best Tory leaders we've had the last 20 years. He just isn't meant to be.
English cuisine.
Very good. Very good. I mean, much maligned, but I think that's a memory of another time. I think probably the greatest British cuisine is Indian food, because it is that classic. It's in the same way the best Thai food in the world is in Melbourne, because you have the Thai recipes, the Thai people, but you have incredible produce. And I think in the UK we have amazing Indian food because we had Indian people and we had innovation, and homesickness was the driving force in Glasgow and Birmingham that created this cuisine, which is sort of, you can find the roots of it in India, but really a lot of it is kind of our version of that. And it's phenomenal.
Are you optimistic or pessimistic about the world?
Very optimistic. Very optimistic about the world. I think I have kids now, and I think so I was out to lunch with Eric Weinstein, and he said something that blew the top of my head up, as he often does. I was chatting about having kids. He said, "Are you enjoying it?" I said, "Oh, love it, man." He said, "You will die and you will be reborn as someone else and you will love them." And you go, oh, that's it. That's religion. That's reincarnation. That's so beautiful. That it's not like you're not reincarnated into some other thing after you're dead. You go somewhere and they come back. I'm very kind of pro-natalist. I think it's given me a tremendous amount already, and it's the most joyful thing.
Do you think there's a moral obligation to have more kids?
Yeah. I mean, the future belongs to the people that turn up for it.
Jimmy Carr, a delight as always.
It's such a pleasure to talk to you. I feel in such I love your show. I think it's fantastic. I love the people you have on.
Thank you.
I love your journalistic integrity in the world of new media. It is a very, very nice balance.
Thank you, Jimmy. Love you, mate.
Thanks.
Cheers.